It's a little before 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm up early because I will be taking a flight to Detroit, where I will then go on to Toledo to pick up my van. It's been up in Toledo now for almost 2 months, month and a half, at Sprinter Parts and More, where Wayne Rod is the owner. Wayne Rod is a Sprinter engine rebuilder, and he's known to be among the best in the country. The plane will be departing at 6 o'clock from Tampa Airport, and I'll be arriving in Detroit at about 9 o'clock, and then it'll be another hour from there to get to Toledo. And then I will be driving the van home from there. It's going to be a long 24 hours. Heading to the Motor City. I'm at the Detroit airport right now. I'm at the rideshare area waiting for my Uber driver to show up. Gonna take an Uber from here in Detroit to Toledo, Ohio. It should be him coming up right now. Yep, that's him. Yep, here we are in Ohio. Right there, it's, yeah, there's right there.
Waiting you, huh?
Yep. Alright, cool. Alright, so we're here in Toledo at the shop, and there's my car. There's my van. So you took all the front
Basically, we remove all of the front end items, pull the engine and the transmission out together. Then the engine and transmission are separated. We didn't necessarily use your engine block when we redid this. This is a different engine block. But the engine block is completely, we can go out and take a look at some of those if you want.
Oh, if you don't, I'm in, yeah, I'm kind of interested, yeah.
Basically show you an engine block. What yours would look like. This is an old one removed from with the oil pan and timing chain stuck off, and what they look like with the pistons on there.
Yeah.
Those are older cylinder heads. And then they go out to a machine shop where they're disassembled, have final work as far as crankshaft grinding if they need it, cylinder boring or sleeves put in. They also get all new bearings and pistons put in there. This is a different engine. When you get them back, this is a V6 for a newer.
Oh, yeah.
But it's relatively the same thing. When we get them back, they've done all the machine work, cleaned them up.
Wow.
The cylinder walls, they turn around and have resurfaced and put new pistons in there.
So there's like a new timing chain.
All new
Chains.
Guides, oil pump.
Okay. So it's okay to drive it all the way home. It's like 1,100 miles.
I believe so. I wish I could easily drive at the 1,100 for you to make sure you get home.
And I saw on the invoice that it's it looked like it was 3,000 miles for the oil change.
That's fine.
So do I need to take it somewhere, or can I do it myself, or
No,
how?
you're welcome to do it yourself.
Okay.
The only thing that I ask is as you get farther into the oil changes, that eventually you start using a synthetic oil in it. You may want to hold off on the first oil change.
Oh, really?
Just to help get the engine to break in.
Oh, okay. So what kind of oil, like, is there like a brand I should use for the first oil
I can
change?
get you a picture.
Okay.
Here's what we're running for the first stuff.
Oh, okay, the Rotella.
Yeah.
Okay.
1540, and that's just to help with the engine breaking in.
Okay.
Then from there, don't worry, he doesn't bite. I know ears in Florida are very nice.
Oh, I thought that was a dog.
No, it's a raccoon.
Not a
Yeah.
dog.
It's with
They love them.
the mobile one.
Yeah.
I've used that before in other vehicles.
It's
Where do you work?
it's the 0 to 40.
Yeah, 0
European
W40. Yep.
platform.
Yeah, I've used that before in other vehicles. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's what we generally
Well,
run
Okay.
my clients
in the
love
5
them.
cylinders. The 6s take a whole different oil.
Oh, really?
Henry.
So how long should I have that oil in after the first, like for the first oil
Well, you
change?
can run it another 3,000
Three?
miles.
Okay.
If you want. That's just going to help ensure
Nursing
that
her
the engine's
back to-
broken in.
Okay.
So if you throw that synthetic in there, you may end up with an engine that burns oil.
Oh,
Because
really?
the rings physically, as they're going up and down, wear into the cylinder walls a little bit to match each other, and that helps stop the oil burning.
Oh. All right, I just left Sprinter Parts and More, Wayne Rod's shop here in Toledo, Ohio. I am in the van and I am on my way home. It will be a 17-hour drive, which will put me home very late. The van, however, is driving a hell of a lot different than it was before. So I am really happy about that. I literally just left the shop and now I have to stop at some train tracks. So you may be wondering how I got here. Well, there's two answers to that. One is I flew up here. I flew to Detroit. I got up at 3 a.m. as you saw. I flew to Detroit. Then took an Uber from Detroit to Wayne's shop. How did this end up at Wayne's shop? Well, we were headed on our Christmas trip, and we got to Ocala, just north of Ocala, and all of a sudden I hear this loud knocking noise. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Get off the highway, it stalls. I noticed there's oil coming out. I'm like, what's going on? I used different language at the time. So I proceeded. We decided we were going to drive home because we figured we could make it. It was 100 miles. We were definitely not going to try to make it to San Francisco from there. So that's what we did. We drove home, and the next day proceeded to rent a car. And of course, if you've been watching the channel, if you've been following the channel, we did our trip to San Francisco in a rental car. So we spent about a month just trying to figure out where to take this. We took it to a local diesel shop who said they worked on Sprinters, but in the end they seemed rather hesitant to work on
In
it.
half a mile, turn right.
They seemed rather hesitant to work on it, so after about a month or two just looking for rebuilt engines to try and swap out the engine, eventually found Wayne online, actually through the Sprinter Facebook group, the T1N Sprinter group. Found him online there and contacted him and
In
arranged.
0.1 miles, turn right.
And then I arranged through UShip to ship this up to Ohio, up here to Toledo. I just found out from Wayne, however, that he will come pick up the vehicle for $2 a
Turn
mile,
right.
which actually would have worked out to being the same as what I paid UShip. Had I known that ahead of time, and I'm not knocking Wayne, but had I known that ahead of time, I would have just paid Wayne to go get my van. I mean, it was slightly cheaper. It was slightly cheaper for me to use UShip, but all the stuff I had to go through to get to U-Ship, you know, contacting a vehicle transport broker, etc., etc. All that. I finally, by the time I went through all that, I was just so stressed.
Turn left.
I was just so stressed and frustrated and everything else. So
In
anyways,
0.1 miles, make a U-turn.
the van was shipped up here.
Make a U-turn.
The van was shipped up here at the beginning of April. It is now the middle of May. So it did take a while to get, you know, between getting it up here and getting it, you
Make
know,
a U-turn.
worked on. But I'll tell you what, the van seems to be driving very well, and it should. It's a rebuilt engine. So I'm very happy about that. You know, I'm going to be driving it all the way back to Florida. That's 1,100 miles. That's a long way to go. I'm hoping it makes it. I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't. It's a rebuilt. It's rebuilt. Wayne said he replaced all the belts or all the hoses. You know, just part of what he does. So everything should go good. I would like to think. I hope that it does. So I'm gonna go grab some food before the lunch rush hits, because it's 11:09 right now. So I'm gonna get some lunch so I can just kind of head down the road and you know, not have to wait through the lunch lines and so on and so forth. But I'm glad to finally be on my way. There is one casualty of this whole thing. My convex mirror is missing on the passenger side. It was not really glued on properly, so with all the bumping and whatnot, getting all the way up here, I guess it fell off.
Turn left.
Alright, stopping at Chick-fil-A for lunch. This video not sponsored by Chick-fil-A. Another thing I'm realizing or finding out is that the magnets, or the magnet or magnets on my cupboard door there, where my electrical is on my right, your left, if I hit enough bumps, the door will actually open, such as now, for example. However, since I put the hinge on the back or to the right of the cabinet, the door will not hit the passenger seat or the person in the passenger seat, because it will swing back. And I designed it that way because this way, if I hit the brakes or slow down a little, the door will move forward and then close itself. I believe once we cross this bridge, we will be in Kentucky. We are now more than 200 miles from Wayne Rod's shop, and that's significant because my AAA RV towing coverage is 200 miles. Here we are. Welcome to Kentucky. So we did take a little break at the rest area just south of Cincinnati, the first one in Kentucky. We are, I think, approaching Lexington, but I did want to sort of give an update on how the van is doing. The van seems to be doing fine. We've traveled almost 279 miles since we left the shop. I still have half a tank of gas left. I did get 20 gallons worth of gas before I hit the highway. It is 90 degrees, it's sunny, and
the air conditioning's working really good, but there's I think there's just the heat. I can just feel the heat coming in. Like, I mean, it's not as if there's nothing there, but I can really feel the heat on the window. I can feel the heat down here on the door. It's not like it's hot to touch, but it is warm. And I can feel the heat up here. So I think traveling with this in the summer could be interesting. I think those of us in front would probably be fine because we can get the air conditioning blowing on us. I'm not entirely sure if that would be the case for the passenger back there, so I don't know. But I guess we will find out. I know we are going to be traveling this year. I don't know if we're necessarily going to be traveling this summer in this. I know we may take a few weekend trips. I know we are planning to drive this down to Key West, or well, the Keys. We may take a drive down to Key West. We'll find out. We do have the exhaust, the Max Air fan back there. Obviously I can't walk back there to see what it's like right now. There is more insulation in the back section, on the roof and the sides, but of course the sliding door has no insulation in it whatsoever, and there is a big piece of glass there which is uninsulated. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work out.
In 1 mile, continue straight.
In the winter, it may be cold in certain parts. However, I'm fairly certain in the winter that the van will be warm enough. We do have heated seats, but so far, like I said, we've driven almost 300 miles now. We are in.
Continue straight.
We're in Kentucky. We're on I-75. It's very windy. We have 110 miles to go to the state line, which I believe is Tennessee. Don't quote me on that because I don't know my geography. About 110 miles till we get to the state line. And the van is doing very well, which I would expect it to do well because it's basically got a brand new engine. Wayne did test drive this for several days. I may be repeating some of this, but he did test drive it for several days. He did put in new brake pads, also put in a new vacuum pump for the power brake booster, I believe, so that the brakes work better. Apparently what was in there before, the vacuum wasn't doing a very good job. So the brakes weren't really working really well, and I noticed that myself, before we sent the van up to Wayne. So that's why I also wanted him to look at the brakes while he had it, since being a Sprinter mechanic for as long as he has, or as long as he has been, he knows the T1N Sprinters backwards and forwards, so he knows what to look for. And so anyways, the brake booster pump, the vacuum pump was not operating properly, and apparently he had some spares in his shop, and he just gave me one of the spares that he had. So that was really nice of him to do that. Wayne's a stand-up guy. A lot of people in the T1N Sprinter Facebook page have said a lot of nice things about him, and I can tell you from personal experience, he is a nice guy, and I've only driven about 300 miles, but you know, the van seems to be working great. The engine, I noticed, drove a lot different. Of course it should, but you know, it drove a lot different once you know, I got into it and started driving it. So I'm really happy. I wish I didn't have
Hazard
to.
reported ahead.
I wish I hadn't have had to have the engine rebuilt, but I'm happy that I found Wayne, and that Wayne was the one to rebuild it, because I feel very comfortable with what he did. So if you're looking for someone to rebuild your Sprinter, Wayne Rod of Sprinter Parts and More in Toledo, Ohio, he's your guy. Based on my personal experience so far, I know it's early, but based on my personal experience so far, very good experience. So right now, I am on the interstate, and I wanted to show you, I am driving on the interstate, and the temperature gauge is between the 180 and the 250. I figure that's probably close to, if 250 is right where it changes from white to orange, and 180 is the next tick mark down, I figure where I'm at right now is about 215. I had left the shop and I was concerned whether that was going to be an issue or not, so I texted Wayne and asked him if that was an issue. I sent him a photo and he said that was normal. So I guess it's normal for highway speeds, especially going uphill, or you know, driving kind of around 70 to 80, somewhere in that range, you know, driving highway speed. We are entering Tennessee, the volunteer state. Heading up the Tennessee mountains, 440 miles south of Toledo. It's currently 6:47. So here we are, leaving Tennessee and entering Georgia on I-75. Apparently there's a lane blocked on the right. I don't know if you'll be able to see the Welcome to Georgia sign, but there's mile 00. So there's some kind of delay here. Not sure how far it goes. Hopefully not too far, hopefully, but we made it to Georgia. It is 8:25. About another hour and a half to get to Atlanta from here, I think, roughly. Of course, that all depends on the traffic here on the highway, so it could be longer than an hour and a half.
Keep right.
Finally made it to Atlanta.
Hazard reported ahead.
Finally made it to Atlanta. It's about 10:30 in the evening, obviously. And according to Waze, we have another 6.5 hours to go. So if I were to continue driving, I would get home at 4:56 in the morning. Boy, there's a lot of traffic here in Atlanta. It's about 2:30 in the morning, and we are heading south on I-75. We are about to leave Georgia, and we are about to enter Florida. I have been awake for 23.5 hours, although I did nap a little on the plane, but not that much. But made it to Florida 23.5 hours after I woke up to catch a flight to Detroit to pick up the van. And I'm going to pull into a rest area to take multiple hour nap. And then in the morning, I will continue driving and we'll get home with the van. I've driven 900 miles so far, a little over 900 miles, and so far so good. Wayne checked in on me, and only ran into a few traffic backups, 2 or 3 accidents around Atlanta, well, maybe a couple accidents, and then just, you know, like a bunch of traffic around Atlanta. Alrighty, now to find a place to park where no one's going to bother me, but not be like totally hidden away, because
In
you know
0.1 miles, keep right.
that's kind of a little bit dangerous too. So I don't want to do that. Oh geez, there's a bunch of vans. Alright, well, we're at the Florida, the northernmost Florida Welcome Center on I-75, just inside the state line. I'm going to be getting this bench ready for me to sleep on. There we go. It's just been a while, I think, since this thing has like moved. Good night. See you in the morning. Well, it's 6:30 in the morning and we're back on the road. Just leaving the Florida Welcome Center, the first one coming south on 75 as you enter Florida from Georgia. We're back on the road. Was able to get some sleep in the back of the van. Once I figured things out, worked things out with the fan and whatnot, it was still a little warm last night. But I got, you know, I had about 2.5 hours of sleep probably, which I needed. I was ready to go, so I went. Alright, we just got off the interstate. We're almost home. We have another 26 miles to go. So all in all, we'll be home by 9:30. So all in all, we drove from Toledo, Ohio to our house. The timeline will have been roughly 22 hours, including stops and a little nap at one of the rest areas in the first rest area coming into Florida. But 22 hours and a little over 1,100 miles, and the van will be home. And it did fine on the drive home, no issues. What can I say? I think it'll make it to Canada. It was almost in Canada when I drove it home, so we should be able to drive it to Canada this winter. We should be able to drive it to the Keys. Should be no issue. I will have to make an oil change. I will have to do an oil change at 3,000 and at 6,000 miles. You know, after the rebuild mileage, just to you know, make sure everything's done, everything is proper. What Wayne told me was that at the 3,000 mile mark, not to use full synthetic. I'm supposed to use Shell Rotella T4, which apparently is not full synthetic, and the reason for that is that will allow the rings and the cylinder walls to I guess form properly to each other. if we were to do an oil change at 3,000 and put full synthetic in, then in the future the engine would burn oil. So at 3,000 miles I will not put full synthetic in. At the 6,000 mile point, then we can start putting full synthetic in, and Wayne did say that we could use the Mobil 1 European Formula 0W40. So that's what I'm going to use. You can get that at Walmart anytime. They carry that in stock. At least usually they do. Our journey is almost done. I'm almost home. It's 9. It's shortly after 9 in the morning. I'm kind of tired. In the last 30 hours, I've had 3 hours of sleep, plus a little nap. Well, that may be 3 hours, including the little nap on the plane. And I was starting to fade a little as we got to Florida, and I am still very tired right now. But I'm off the interstate and on my way home.
Thanks for letting me ramble, and I hope that you liked this video. If you did, please hit like, and don't forget to subscribe to the Rambling with Phil YouTube channel to see more videos like this.